to the channel. I'm Moedotj and we are locked in. This is part 2 of Hip Hop Uncovered, and we know part 1 was, okay, it set the tone and let us know where hip hop started at. Part 2 is going to pick up where we left off, but before we get into that, shout out to the notification gang. If you're new to the channel, you want to be a part of this, hit your subscribe button, turn on your notification bell so you get something every time I upload. Oh yeah, hit the like button. It's 2021. We got to get that engagement up. Like, dislike, it's all the same. But this is part 2. Now, part 1 showed us where hip hop originated. Part 2 is going to take us from there, and it's going to take us up a level. And it's going to lead us into 3, 4, 5, 6. But you know me, I'm not going to hold you up. This is part 2 of Hip Hop Uncovered. Let's get into it. They jumping us right into it now. We knew it was coming, but the crack epidemic, when it hit the streets, it really terrorized a lot of communities, especially black communities, black and Latino communities. But we all know it wasn't coming from us. The government was pushing this on us. We don't have any planes. We don't have any boats. None of us were chemists. None of us knew how to turn coke into crack. This didn't come from us. They put all this on us. And they had Royce the 5'9" talking about it. And he was saying everyone liked the rappers. And this birthed, all this crack stuff, it birthed a new set of rappers. It went from the 79s, the 78, 79s, and the early 80s to this mid 80s. And it birthed a whole new form of rapping. New York, the birthplace of hip hop. But at this time, it wasn't nothing really going on. It's abandoned buildings. Mike Tyson said it looked like a bomb hit the place, everything torn down. And this was the kids' playgrounds. This was their reality. This old abandoned building over here, it might be people in there doing drugs, but it's a building we can play in. Now, Bimmy, he's seen all this, and growing up, he's like, I don't want to be involved in this. So he's looking at all the big time dealers and, you know, all the big time players around the neighborhood, and he's thinking, this is what I want to do. And then he ended up buying him a stereo to just be outside. He bought him a little speaker, a little boombox, and that's how he fell in love with hip hop, because they didn't have anything else to do. Play around in these abandoned buildings, potentially get hit by a brick or something. Come on, man. With this new breed of rappers, this new generation of rappers, if you look back at like Grandmaster Flash and all of them, they wore outfits. They wore, you know, the leather jackets with like the little lassos and stuff on it. They wore pretty much costumes. Now, for the new generation of rappers, they were dressing like the people they seen on the streets. You know, come out, got your clothes, hey, be ready, be ready. Always look fresh. That's how they were starting to dress. As I was explaining earlier, they're looking at the big guys. Pop Freeman, you see the hat with the brim? Hey, you started dressing like a gangster. If you really trying to make some moves and you was rapping, you dress like a gangster. You get clean. You don't wear the little outfit, the little uniform. You wear what's worn in the streets, because that's what you're representing at this point. You're representing where you came from and the struggle that you've been enduring. Run DMC, one of the first hip hop groups to actually become icons, came out with a song called Hard Times. The reason they had this song is because they grew up in these neighborhoods. They knew it was hard times, and that's what the song was about, all of the hard times. Dr. Dre says there wouldn't be no DRE without Run DMC. Too Short, he said when he heard hard times, he knew he was living in hard times, but he wanted to rap about that. Even if it's a song where he's talking about girls, he wanted to throw in a story about the hard times he has to go through. Same for Bimmy. Bimmy actually knew Run DMC and Jam Master Jay, so for him, and I'm pretty sure a whole bunch of other rappers in the 80s, Hard Times was a song that they could relate to. It's rapping about the streets and everything that they see. So Run DMC, they were very influential on all of these new breed of rappers, you know, the new generation of rappers that were coming up in the 80s. The thing that the government didn't expect from all these drugs is once they started pumping the streets and giving these, you know, saying these dope boys the drugs, these drug dealers, they're out and about. They're moving around, making more than 6 figures, and they just out on the block. They ain't even got to do nothing. They just got their little corner boys. And now these people, they're infiltrating all of Wall Street. They're doing all kinds of stuff. They're supplying everybody with all of the drugs. And the government didn't expect them to be able to make this kind of money off of it. But now everyone's starting to skyrocket. People are starting to get bigger and bigger names off of all the drugs that they're moving, which leads us to Supreme. You can see Bimmy in the back. Bimmy's young, but he was hanging around Supreme. They all grew up. He all knew each other, so they were working together. And he said the first time he sat in Supreme's Benz, he didn't say it out loud, but in his head he was thinking, I'm gonna get me one of these. Because you see it. You see somebody that you know, someone that you rolling with, they're getting all this money. it's very enticing. I don't want to go back to this normal lifestyle. I see you living this life. This is the life that I want to live also. And this is what drove Bimmy. Hey, this put him in the game. This is what drove him. Like, this is my motivation. I want the cars. I want the jewelry. I want, I want to be good. I hate where I came from. This is the slums. I want to be living good. Bimmy's over with Supreme doing his thing. We already know Deb made a name for herself. She's holding it down herself. And one of her motivations is her dad, he passed. And then she's looking at her mom with 8 kids, no money. She said, I could never be like that. So for her, she explains it as, if I didn't go through the things that I went through at an early age, I don't think I would be where I am. But once all this got through her head, she hit the ground running. She said her name should have been Concrete, because she was out there making things happen. And that's a good part of the story that I didn't know nothing about until I watched this. So Deb was really out there getting. Deb goes in to explain that with all this crack, it's a lot of money on the streets. So you're going to run into teachers, firefighters, people that work on Wall Street. Everyone's in a frenzy for this. But she also says it tears down the community, though, because it was killing a lot of people. But for them, it's a means of survival. And at the end of the day, survival is that's what it is. That's the end goal. You trying to survive. So you got to do what you got to do. Unfortunately, some people got caught up in life and didn't make it. But when you're trying to survive, you got to do what you got to do. And in these situations, these circumstances, that's what they had to do. And that's how they were getting their money. They break down how the drugs come from Colombia, and then they originally started going into Miami, but then there was a quicker route to go up through Mexico. Then you got San Diego and LA, and once you hit there, the coke would hit there, and then the crack would just go to every major city. These are just distribution hubs, and someone had to be moving it. It wasn't us. It wasn't us bringing it up from Mexico. So who was it? This is where the cartel started to get involved. And the money was so lucrative that people that you wouldn't even think would sell drugs, they jumped in the drug game because it was so easy and the money was coming. Boy, that crack in the 80s was making a lot of money. Let's go all the way up to Detroit and talk to Trick Trick. Trick Trick, he talks about at this time in the 80s, they had about 4 people that were really moving things. If you've seen the movie White Boy Rick was up there. Then you had these 4 brothers, and you had a couple of other people. But for Trick Trick, he said, man, I got my first thing of crack. It was on the side of the church. And for him selling this, that was the fastest money he ever made. And he said he was a big hustler. He was cutting grass, shovel snow. He's doing all kinds of things, but just him selling this makes more than what he's doing with all of his jobs combined. So it's a no-brainer. I'm going to go ahead and stop doing 5 or 6 jobs, and I'm going to focus primarily on this because this is where the money resides. Mike Tyson says at this time it's really violent. You got the drugs on the street. People are going to jail trying to get their rep up. It's really who has the most rep. Who's really doing what they really doing? You know what I'm saying? Who's out there throwing them things? Who's really holding it down? And Mike Tyson said that's just how it was at that time. It was pretty much eat or get ate. You had to be on your P's and Q's if you really wanted to make it in the game. Haitian Jack. Now, Haitian Jack said he started off as a stick-up kid. Pretty much you'll see somebody, okay, you got some flashy stuff on? Okay, I want that. I'm going to go get that. He said he seen a guy changing up his shoes 3 times in a day, but his parents, they were hard working, so they weren't going to give him no money to go, buy shoes. I grew up the same way. My parents wasn't giving me no money for no nonsense like that. So for him, he started robbing. That's how he got his things. One day, his dad's cab actually got stolen outside the front of their house. He says, Jack, my cab is gone, my car is gone. Jack said, don't worry, Dad, I'll go do some investigation. So his dad said, some investigation? Haitian Jack goes out and he starts questioning everybody, all the people that steal cars, steal radios, hubcaps. And he said, look, if someone stole my dad's car, it's probably just a mistaken identity, but I need that back. If not, tomorrow I'm gonna start shooting all of the robbers. He said in the morning his car showed back up. His dad came and said, Jack, you are the king of thieves. So Haitian Jack had made a name. He had a lot of respect, and his family was respected because of him and the things he had to do. Big U, Haitian Jack, Bimmy, they're all together in the DR and they're chilling. And Big U's explaining, I had an interview, me and Tip were talking about how the dope game was actually beneficial for us because it made us hustlers and it taught us the game. So once we got in this, we could become entrepreneurs and we could start moving forward. You know, take that dirty money, make it legit, and then we can go legit. So in a way, I mean, it was some bad things that happened, but in a way, it actually helped them and it helped propel hip hop to what it is today. It's $1 billion industry now. Now we getting into the white collar criminals, greed. America is a capitalistic environment. This is what it's all about, that green paper. And they just start showing all of these people that are scamming people, making millions with your money. Investor, Ivan the Terrible. It's showing all of these people, mobsters that were stealing money, embezzling money, people on Wall Street embezzling money. But we already know this. The people at the top are the most crooked. They're doing things and they're taking millions while we're just doing illegal things for a couple $1,000s. It's the irony, just put it like that, the irony. But you got to start from the top before you can work your way to the bottom, because the bottom is a reflection of the top. And with all this going on, why not get a piece of the pie? Businessmen slanging to them. You got mothers, you got people in limos pulling up. Everybody wanted what these people had. And what they had was the dro, the blow, the snow. They had it all. And this is where the money was coming from. And it started racking up. I'm talking ching ching, big bank. Now that money is coming in, you got all the dope boys, all the people that are really moving, all the major players, they're buying clubs out. And they're paying artists to come in here. Curtis Blow, Melly Mel. And everybody will be up there. If you're on the stage, you're slanging. You're a big timer. You're either the artist or you're the people with the dope money. And everybody else is just in the crowd. So this started bringing in live performances, and you already know it's drugs running in and out of these clubs. It's just a money, it's just a money maker. That's all it was. Hip hop and drugs, it went hand in hand. The only way for any rapper to get in the studio or to actually get money, because they wasn't getting no money. Hip hop wasn't that big. Like, they weren't getting money from the labels or anything. Shows wasn't getting that kind of money. The only way you could really progress, you had to have a drug dealer. You wanted to get in the studio? Oh, you rap, this drug dealer here? Okay, cool. He sound good. Bring him in the studio. Oh, he's good at rapping? Hey, bring him. Let him do a show. We'll put some money in his pocket. And then you started seeing all the rappers hanging around the dope boys, because that's where the money is. Oh, we're gonna get the club this weekend. Matter of fact, come up here, perform with us. We give you $5,000. So that's where you start to see the rappers, the drug dealers, they come together. They're hand in hand. This infamous picture here of Eric B and Rakim, they're surrounded by all the dope boys. You got the Puerto Rican Supreme, you got the real 50 Cent down at the bottom, and this is what they do. They're hand in hand. Now, the real 50 Cent, he was a real jacker. He wouldn't, believe me, I'd have my chain tucked around him, because I don't know him, so I am not trying to get robbed. But if you weren't down with the crew, the real 50 Cent was gonna rob you. He didn't care. You had to be part of us or you're not with us. That's simple, plain and simple. Now, if you remember the hood classic New Jack City, that's basically based off of Supreme and Bimmy's life. That's what was going on. That's what they were doing. They were moving all of it. They had the girls naked in there breaking down the bricks, bagging it up, you know what I'm saying, putting them in the little vials. They had the security. They had people that they hired. Their only job was security. You don't go do nothing. You get a lunch break, come back, security. That's all they did. But that lifestyle was based off of what was really going on in New York City. And they did a hell of a job with that movie too. Back to Miss Deb, Auntie Deb. You see her in the middle, bossed up. Now, Deb's job was she would be delivering keys. She'd go out there and check people. If some money came up short, she'd go over there and make sure it was right. Now, she was respected. For Deb, she mentions who her godfather is. She doesn't say the name. She just says her godfather was a pretty high-level person. She won't mention him. He was bad to some people, but for her, he was always good. And the reason that their relationship was so good was she could be able to talk slick, but they knew that she was going to get the job done. And for her, getting money, that was a drug. She wasn't using no drugs, but getting money, now that's the real drug. And you see, green is usually a drug for everybody. If you get a little bit of it, you're going to want a lot more. let's head back to LA, you know what I'm saying? See what Big U talk about. Now, he was saying that if you were in jail, you didn't hear nothing unless it was on the radio. And back then, there wasn't really too many live shows. So when you got out of jail, or if you wanted to hear music, you had to go to the skating rink, World on Wheels. It was in LA, but it wasn't in the Rolling 60s territory. And we know how the gang territory is. It's on another part of the town. So when you go over there, you got to be ready. You got to be ready at all times, because you got to build that rep up. Now you see where the Rolling 60s is, and you see where the skating ring was. Now the Rolling 60s, they weren't really invited up there, but Big U, hey, we're going up there anyway. And when they would get there, it is on. You get in there, you start fighting. You got to figure out who we fighting. We fighting these Crips over here. We fighting these dudes from Long Beach. It was pretty much whenever you went in there, you making a name for yourself. Hey, we're going to get in here. We're going to whoop on some dudes. We're going to build up some rep. And this skating ring is going to eventually be ours, because they going to know what's up in here. Big U is pretty much the face of the Rolling 60s. But back then, people didn't know. They seen him come in. They just thought he was a big goofy guy with the Jerry curl and glasses. But they didn't think he was goofy when he get outside and he whoop on their ass. And he talking about he was fighting all the time. The girls used to come up to him. Oh, Big U, you fighting this weekend? You fighting tonight? And he's pretty much like, yeah, I'm getting it in with whoever wants something. So Big U was holding it down. But at the end of the day, you guys are building your rep, and at this time, guns weren't too big yet. It was just use these, man. And Big U is a big boy, man. He was knocking these fools out. He said he wouldn't even mess up the Jerry curl. Once the Rolling 60s took over the rolling ring, hey, their power just started to grow, and it's, oh, we the Rolling 60s, we up in here, and everyone was going to respect it. So that's how the Rolling 60s started to form and develop and become the powerhouse of the Crips that they were. They was over there whooping ass and taking names. Well, they was whooping ass. I don't think they were taking no names. It was just, check, they out of here. We good. We got it. Now, Bimmy growing up, he's young. You seen Run DMC on here. They had their jackets on. He always said, I won't be one of those. And he actually knew Jay. So he said DMC used to like his sister, so he would come around and see his sister, and they just started to build that bond. So he would go to the studio with him while they were making their Raising Hell album. And one day, out of nowhere, he just said, hey, DMC, can I go on the road with y'all? They were like, yeah, why not, man? You around us all the time. Let's get it. So they started to build this relationship, and this is how Bimmy actually started getting into the music a little more. At first, it was just helping pay to promote, like, you know, hey, we're going to bring some artists in. Now it's, hey, I'm actually around them. I'm in the studio with them. DMC's like, Bimmy, you're Bimmy. You're dope boy Bimmy. You can do whatever you want. Yeah, you can come on the road with me. Now, they actually had a show that was on TV. Deb, everybody back at home was waiting for it. He didn't do much, but he was on the stage with Run DMC, the iconic Run DMC. He's on the stage with them on live TV. And to him, he's, oh my goodness, I can really do this music thing. And this right here is what changed Bimmy's mind. So one day at the Beverly Hills, he put on a robe and it had the BH on it, the Beverly Hills initials, but he still had his clothes on up under it. He went outside and sat on the curb. He said DMC came over and he sat with him. And he's like, man, I'm out here with DMC. And he's thinking, man, there's gotta be something for me, man. I wanna go legit. I can't really go back to what we were doing, man. I want to do this. And DMC's telling him, man, look, just rock with us, bro. You can do whatever you want. You're Bimmy, bro. So this is one of the changing points in Bimmy's mind and how he really got into music more. Being out there on the road, man, it was amazing for him. It's unfortunate what happened with Jam Master Jay. He was one of the best DJs ever. Unfortunately, he was murdered. And Dr. Dre starts to talk about how he met him when he came out to LA, and he was just walking through the parking lot, and Dr. Dre just started talking to him, and he actually spoke to him. So for Dr. Dre to experience that at a young age, I'm pretty sure that was very like one of the very important parts of Dr. Dre's life, and which made him become Dr. Dre. What hip hop started doing in LA, it started giving these gangs a place to actually meet up. The Bloods, the Crips versus the Crips. It just, okay, there's going to be an event going on. We know they're going to be there. We going to be there. Hey, let's get us some rap. Let's make a name for ourselves. Let's go ahead and take these people out. You know what I'm saying? It was just a different culture out there. The gang life was consuming everything, and hip hop was coming out of the gang life. Now you have the biggest tour. You got Jam Master Jay out there. You got Houdini out there. You even see little Jermaine Dupri out here. But this story, all of them are connected. So Bimmy's with Run DMC at the concert, about to perform. Jermaine Dupri is on tour with, you know what I'm saying, with this group. And then you got Big U out in the crowd. They run in the dressing room and tell Jam Master Jay and Run DMC, hey, lock your door. They out there brawling. You got the Rolling 60s out there. They fighting everybody. So Jermaine Dupri witnessed this. Big U was out there fighting it. Bimmy, he's seen it. So it's just chaos out here, man. It's just, that's the gang life out there. But in LA, that's what they do. And it's just a different lifestyle. But oh man, I tell you, that's, ooh, I bet it was lit out that thing. While all this is going on, they're trying to explain to Bimmy, hey, don't go out there. The Crips out there, they acting a damn fool. And Remy, he's from New York, so he doesn't know nothing about the Crips and Bloods. He thought it was some crippled people. They're like, nah, it's the Crips, them 60s, they out there, and they whooping ass. Now we insert Ice-T, bringing up the gangster rap. Ice-T went to high school in Crenshaw. He knew Big U. But the thing about Ice-T is, he didn't claim a gang or anything. He claimed the whole West Coast. But being the cool guy, the smooth guy that he is, he was cool with Bloods. He was cool with Crips. He was cool with the 60s. He was cool with everybody. So for him, it was just moving around. And he came out with that song 6 a.m. and it lit the street on fire. That 6 a.m., everybody could relate to that. It was like, okay, the police knocking at the door. Okay, this 6 a.m. is hard. Now we got gangster rap, we got crack and cocaine at an all-time high. Big U starts to break it down that now we're starting to see guns. Back in the day, it wasn't, you might have one gun in the crew. Now everybody has a gun. Now everybody has a machine gun. Now everybody has all kinds of stuff. They got Uzis and it's just ridiculous. The streets are flooded now with drugs, guns, and the gangster music is starting to take off. Big U said he lived by one code: get them before they get you. Like I was saying earlier, eat or get ate. That's all it is. You got to try to survive in these streets. Haitian Jack, Bimmy, Big U, they are the beginning of hip hop. These guys were around and they were influential and they actually helped things move around. Now, Big U starts to explain that you would go to jail in LA, you would go to the 4300 block. Now this is a spot you can make your name. Every day in there, he said you were gonna have to fight. It was gonna be a fight every day. But if you get in here and you can make a name for yourself, then you're good to go. And what they said was Big U would get in here and he was actually the glue to make the Rolling 60s start forming and have some organization. So Big U went in here, he's whooping on people and he's bringing everybody together. So once he gets out, now it's Big U is pretty much the front of the 60s. When you think Rolling 60s, you were thinking Big U because he was in there handling his business every time he went in. Trick explains how it was in Detroit. He was making money. You would call him up, you would meet up with him, and you give him a number and a code. Oh, okay, I know who this is. This dude's legit and I know what he wants. He was moving. He was making a lot of money. He had his own little organization. He's not capping, talking about he was the big time. He was, hey, I was, you know what I'm saying, lower level, but I was moving my work. And he was just saying it's just crazy, man. That crack was killing. It was ridiculous up there, man. It was hard to make it up out of there. Big U being Big U, always thinking. One of his partners said, hey, let's go to Minnesota. Big U goes up there. They start taking over blocks. You know, on Paid in Full, when they go to Nebraska and stuff, that's what Big U is really doing. Going to Oklahoma, going to these different places and setting up little factions and having them move to work. Now you got more product in different places. Hey, and if the cops are after you, just run until they catch you. Go to another state and chill out. Now, Kenneth Supreme ended up getting locked up. Bimmy, he got arrested with him, but since he was a minor, he didn't get any time. Supreme got 10 years and they sent him upstate. So at this point, he's on the road with Jam Master Jay and them. He's telling DMC, look, man, my loyalty is to Supreme. I'm Supreme team. So while Supreme is locked up, Bimmy takes over the dope game. So he goes back into it. But at this point, he has no other option. This is his loyalty. His loyalty is to Supreme, so he takes over the organization from that point on. Deb goes into detail about how she was in the wrong place at the wrong time. She was making some moves and she got out the car and she ended up getting shot by a 357. She got hit 3 times. Now, she thought this guy was trying to help her, but it turns out the guy was using her as a shield, and she had got hit right in front of a prank scene. So she crawled over there, and she's trying to reach up, and she said her whole hand is bloody, and she just said, "Hey, I've been shot." So Deb was, hey, moving bricks, hey, getting shot. She's really been in the game. Then she got a younger brother that's out there moving work with Supreme. Man, this family, they got a name for themselves, for real, for real. To this day, we still want to know, how did all these drugs and guns get put into our neighborhoods? You got to ask the people up top, but we know exactly how. The government put all that on us. Cocaine, we ain't growing it. We ain't flying down there to get it. Crack, someone had to teach somebody how to do it. We didn't just come up with it on our own. But one thing about the crack game, it did make people become entrepreneurs. I mean, if you look at it that way, that's one positive out of it. But the damage that it did to the neighborhoods and the community, we can't get that back. All right, there you go, part 2 of Hip Hop Uncovered. Let me know what you think about the whole crack epidemic. We all know it was one of the roughest times, but we bounced back from it and hip hop moved forward. But let me know what you think about that. Thanks for watching. Be here next week for episode 3 and 4. I'm Moedotj. If you like the content on the channel, hit that subscribe button. Definitely hit that like button. Hey, thanks for watching. I'm out.
Jimmy on the beat, boy.